Check, check, check. 1, 2, 1, 2. Yo, we in the building. What's good, everybody? It is a pleasure to be here with you all today, to be back on these LinkedIn streets in a live capacity. For those of you that do not know me, welcome to my page, actually, because I think we're hosting this here. My name is Xander Van Gogh, and I'm the co-founder and CEO of No Translation. I also previously was the program manager for Top Voices, one of the three musketeers and founding members of founding a community management organization at LinkedIn. I'm super excited to be with you all today to talk about the core fundamental elements of LinkedIn. And before we get into that, real quick, a lot of people have been asking, what is No Translation? And No Translation, we are an enablement and innovation studio helping leaders, organizations, teams, and corporate folks and creatives like yourself adopt AI, scale systems, and understand how to communicate with clarity in the new modern workforce. So today, we're going to be breaking all of this down specifically for what you want to know on LinkedIn, which is around understanding visibility. And visibility, right? What is it? I asked this question about 3 weeks ago about what is your purpose on LinkedIn? And I had tons of people answer, about 150 comments or so. And in those 150 comments, most people said, hey, how can I become more visible on LinkedIn? To do a few things. One, I want to do it for my business. I want to understand how to promote what it is that I'm doing. I also want to understand, how do I get my offerings out there to my ideal customer? Or it was like, hey, I want to be visible as I'm looking for career advancement opportunities on the platform. Or more importantly, I'm a leader of an organization. How do I make myself visible, not just for my organization, but for the scalability of our org, whether that's bringing in new employees and top talent, or getting out our messaging and collaborating with our marketing departments to make sure that I'm leading as a leader, and also at the same time, leading within our marketing efforts as founder marketing is becoming bigger and bigger and bigger. So I welcome you all today to this live event where we will be talking about the fundamental elements of LinkedIn and what you can do to be visible. So for those in the chat today, what up, Doe? I'm Xander again. I'm from Detroit. I would love to hear where you guys are actually from, where people are tuning in from as well today, and also what you're excited about to learn. But I will be remiss to say that I'm doing this by myself today. I actually have an amazing co-host that's joining me. She is our brand strategy and marketing lead for No Translation. She is also a marketing guru herself with over 10, 15, 20 plus years of experience within this space. And more importantly, she's just an OG from the West Side, but hailing out of the Midwest in Chicago. We call her Dee Dee, but I'm going to allow her to introduce herself and bring her to the stage. Denise,
hey,
what up, dude?
What's going on, Xander? How are you feeling today?
Feeling amazing. I'm feeling amazing. How about yourself?
I am doing pretty good. Thank you for that intro. I do hail from Cali. I say I live in Chicago by way of Cali. I'm always going to be a West Coast to the day I die, for real. But yes, hey everybody, my name is Denise Furlow, as Xander so eloquently introduced me. I am the brand strategist and marketing lead for No Translation. I also have built brand partnerships, marketing and operations initiatives for brands that are in the wellness, childcare, spirits, and entertainment industry. So I've been doing this for a little bit. I wouldn't say 20 years, not quite there, but about 15-ish years. And I'm excited to get into this conversation today. Xander, let's go on and hit it.
Let's do it. We have a jam-packed agenda, but first things first, we're going to be talking about the idea of visibility in itself, right? So visibility, we want you to understand that it's not about just doing more. What the key is it's about being easier to understand, to find, and ultimately how you are remembered, right? You want to be able to make a lasting impression so that you are always being talked about around the arenas in which your services are offered, or more importantly as well, for the arenas that you want to advance into, whether that's leadership positions, managerial positions, whether that's certain arenas where it's like, hey, I'm doing stuff in AI. How can I be on the minds of individuals that are looking to have help with that? So we have tons of people joining in from the chat today, and we're really excited to get into all of this. Heather, what up, though? It's a pleasure to see you on these LinkedIn streets as well, too. But as we move into visibility, I think we really want to talk about the foundation, right? The foundation of what it is that we need to be talking about, of why we are on LinkedIn. So, Didi, I would love to kind of turn it over to you as we start to talk about this. Why should people be on LinkedIn? What is the foundational elements of the platform?
Yeah, so I think that, you know, at one point we all thought that LinkedIn was a place to post your resume. I think that the advancements in terms of the platform have definitely expanded so that there's a lot more opportunity to be tapped into on LinkedIn. The one thing that I would say is definitely understand your why. So if you're in between job seeking and becoming a founder, you need to determine what your why is and what your intent is and what you're seeking on the platform, so that everything else, the stories and the engagements that you continue to have on the platform, align with what you're actually trying to achieve. Determine your why, say, I am here for X, and then make sure that you actually own that.
Yeah, for sure. And I think the other thing that people really need to consider is that LinkedIn is not like every other platform. It's not similar to your TikTok. It's also not similar to Instagram. It's very different from Twitter. And the primary case behind that is the audience itself. I like to break down LinkedIn as having an audience of like three tiers. You have your people that are high career achievers, right? The people that are looking to advance in their careers, whether they're looking to go from entry level to senior level to manager, manager to executive, so on and so forth. You have your entrepreneurs and your founders, right? Your people that are starting new things, that are getting ideas out into the world, building and making sure that they're offering services and products to the economy at large. And then you have your leaders and your organizations, your individuals that are at these Fortune 1000, Fortune 2000 organizations that have built momentum, have stability, have foundations, and are looking to make decisions that not only affect their organizations, but making decisions because their organizations affect the world, so they're affecting the masses. So when you think about it in that realm, you're thinking about a higher level of conversation that's actually happening within the platform where you can go a little bit deeper. The other key thing about LinkedIn that's really interesting is that about 70% of the people on LinkedIn actually have jobs. And now this was something that we obviously stated when I was working there, to where this was very true. 2017, 2018, 19, 20, 21. We obviously know that the landscape has changed a little bit to where that number may have dipped, but typically people on LinkedIn are already well established. They already are having jobs. So when you're speaking to this community, it's coming from a different vantage point as opposed to being on Instagram or TikTok and that nature as well. So as we start to think about this, Dee, I have a question for you. When it comes to visibility, when it comes to people that have jobs, there's always this question, right? And the idea is that, how do I know when I need to say stuff? How do I know when I actually need to put myself out there? Because I don't want people thinking that I'm looking to make a switch or that I'm doing this or doing that. So in your opinion, when is actually the best time to be visible on a platform like LinkedIn?
Yeah, so I think that there's two aspects that I would add to that. Just if you think about the fact that everybody has a perspective, it doesn't matter if you're in a role. You have a perspective on your job, and chances are 95% of the people that you work with don't actually know how you do what you do. So you still have a perspective, even if you're not actively looking for a job, in terms of what you can bring visibility to in terms of the value that you bring. The other thing that I would say to that is you also have to look at these platforms as just like a relationship building tool and mechanism. And so if you just think about relationships, you're never going to want to just ask somebody straight out like, hey, I need this. You want to actually have different touch points that have established a solid relationship throughout the course of your engagement with them. And so if you're thinking about it from those two perspectives, to me, there's always a time to be visible in some capacity. You have to determine what the capacity is and do that strategically.
Absolutely. And as we start to think about this, I think on LinkedIn, we want to start with the basics, right? Obviously, coming from someone that was running the Top Voices program, that was a part of the community management team, we talked a lot about the content itself and how to post. But I think we need to take a couple steps back, and that's why we're doing this event today, to talk about the main billboard on LinkedIn, which is how you actually become discoverable on the platform and unlock discoverability throughout, which is through your main profile. So we're going to give you a profile cheat sheet. today and actually talk a little bit more about the discoverability of the platform. So we have four main topics that we're going to talk about on your profile that you need to be taking advantage of. The first is your visuals, right? Your visuals will kind of give you your vibe that attracts your tribe, as we like to say. Then we're going to kind of go into the headline section, which has a few other features in it that you need to be taking advantage. We like to say your headline is how you hook them and then how you book them. And that's especially when it comes to your customers. The third part is your story. This is your opportunity to tell who you are. You can kind of lead with the person, but then we're going to show you how to land with your ultimate truth. And then last but not least, we're going to get into your recs and your skills, right? The recommendations, the skills that you showcase, and how you kind of build your street cred and what other people say about you. So first things first, Didi, let's kind of tap into these visuals, right? Let's talk about a couple of main topics on LinkedIn, and I would love to hear your perspective as a brand strategy and marketing professional and extraordinaire of how you look at some of the three main visuals on LinkedIn and what our audience needs to do to make sure that they're tapping into this the right way.
Yeah, absolutely. So the visual components on a LinkedIn profile are one going to be your profile picture, which is going to show up right next to your headline. So that is a key visual, your hero visual, if you will. You also have the banner, which LinkedIn has made a ton of different advancements that we'll get into with how you can actually leverage that banner space. Instead of having it be a static image, you can leverage that very strategically to create and give people a feel for what they would get in working with you. And then the last piece of that, which is also often underutilized, is the media components that fit into the experience where your resume are. So those are the three components. The key thing that I would just be considerate of is making sure that there's consistency throughout. So if it's a brand look and feel, if you have a personal brand and you have your own logo and things of that sort, making sure that those media components include that, making sure that your profile picture is cohesive and looks like it belongs along with the banner and with those media visuals. Consistency and synergy is really going to go a long way when you're looking at those visuals.
Absolutely. And I think as we kind of dive into this, I want to kind of go into an example of someone that has like a really good overall branding visual side of things. Mita Malik, like she actually has her profile photo, which I think is really good in terms of showcasing her face. Now, obviously my profile photo is to the left. That's just kind of more of my style. So if that fits within your brand, I would say go for it. But also what I wanted to point out about her profile is that if you look at the top on her banner photo, you see these different dots. And I think you were actually mentioning this earlier, is that this is a way to kind of showcase your story by actually adding a gallery. What would you add to something like this to kind of showcase your story in a way to where you tell something more visual and it's more symbolic of what it is that you do, Didi?
Yeah, so if you look at her picture, we're just going to go straight to the first banner that she has as her primary image. You know what she does instantly when you come to this page. She's speaking. She's doing some kind of, she's probably open for speaking in some capacity. The other components of that, you can put your skills on a slide. You can put your tagline on a slide, your logo, the branding pieces of it. So I would just use the space. You don't have to use all of them, but if there's a way to use it and it's adding value, that's what I would consider. But there's a couple different ways. And I really like her it's a very minimalist visual, but it tells you visually exactly what you're about to read about.
Exactly. And I think like as you go through this, and me knowing Mita personally, she's a speaker, she's an author, she was a DE&I executive. So as you go through those photos, you might see a picture of her book. You might see a picture of where she's from. You see her on stage speaking. You see all of those things to kind of get the totality of what her brand means. Now, the second thing we're going to talk about is this thing right under her name, which is her headline. And in a headline, Didi, I know there are some very important things that our audience needs to take advantage of when it comes to like keywords. So what are your three keys to making a great headline section?
Yeah, I would definitely consider the fact that your keywords LinkedIn is a search platform. Let's just be straight honest about that, right? Somebody's going to come in, they're looking for something specific, and they're either going to find you or not based off of your headline, what's in your headline. And so considering the fact that it's not necessarily what I say, but what people will be searching for based off of who needs to find me and the value that I bring. That is one way to look at that a little bit different so that you make sure that you're either hitting the big brands that you've worked at, you're hitting the key roles that you play, whether that be author, and you make sure that you're just thinking about it from the angle of who is actually searching for me and what am I telling them in this headline so that they know that I'm the person that they're looking for.
Yeah, I love that. And what we used to say at LinkedIn is that usually you want to kind of have your title. You want to have a short elevator pitch about what you do. And then also have some keywords that kind of showcase your skills as well in order to ensure that people get a really good understanding, and then also to make sure that you're searchable. Your headline is one of the most, if not the most searched thing when it comes to SEO on LinkedIn. So be sure to have something that is telling about what you do. Now, there are often times where you can be an executive of, like, let's say if you're the CEO of Microsoft, you're the CEO of Microsoft. There's not much else that you need to say. Like, your brand recognition is very strong, your title is very strong, and that's enough of what you need for your headline. In addition to that, the other thing that you actually have within that headline section is a button that you can actually link out to a newsletter. You can link it out to your website, or you can even link it out to, let's say, like a contact page for people to book a call with you. This is an opportunity to have a call to action right in that immediate first place where people are reading about you. So they get this elevator, high level, 30,000 foot perspective about who you are. They see your beautiful face. They see a little bit of imagery to kind of symbolize what it is that you do. And then they get an opportunity to click to learn more about your portfolio, your website, your team, your newsletter, or even just to have a call with you. So make sure to take advantage of that white space. But I wanted to give one more example as we kind of talked about the headline real quick, Didi, and get your opinion on this executive's profile and his headline. Would you say this is strong, or is there some things that you would add?
Yeah, I would say it's strong because of who he is, right? So if you think about Tope, he's the founder that created Calendly. He simplified our life and he really leans into ease. Obviously, his banner says easy ahead. So it is simple, direct, and to the point. And I'm assuming that that is how he operates, and that is very in line with his personal brand. So it works.
Exactly. And then that leads us into, like, how you tell your story on LinkedIn, right? Like, what does that actually mean? What does that actually look like? And in my opinion, you kind of tell your story in two different sections on LinkedIn. You have the opportunity to tell it in your about, but you also have the opportunity to tell it through your experience. And what I used to teach my creators at LinkedIn is, like, hey, when you're on your profile, here are 4 ways in which I try to keep my frame of mind and my formula in order to make sure that I'm telling something complete, not giving them everything that I would put on my resume, but at the same time, allowing the audience to learn enough about me to connect. So I will always say, number 1, find ways to keep it personal. Number 2, find ways to highlight your profession. Number 3, give them some information about your portfolio and what you've done. But then number 4, always end with numbers to drive the credibility. In terms of you, Didi, when you hear that, do you think that's solid advice, or what is something that you may add to that?
I think that's solid advice. And I think that you need to do that in a way that just recognizing the fact that viewers are on their phone more than likely, or they're flighting, they're passing through, right? And so you literally have about 10 to 15 seconds to do all of those 4 things that Xander just identified. You want to do that in a way that's easy for people to understand. So, with brevity, and then also hard for them to ignore. So leaning into that differentiation piece. And this is really where you drive that home in those quick hitting components.
Exactly. And there are a couple of examples I want to show. We're going to take a moment to showcase one. And I thought using this from a senior manager at LinkedIn was going to be really interesting. I think this individual does a really great job at showcasing their current position, giving a little bit about what they do, but then also, as you can see, they also added some media under their experience section as well. Didi, what are your thoughts on this type of profile? Do you think that this is enough? Would you have added more? What is your overall perspective on this from giving it a quick glance?
Yeah, quick glance at the experience section. I really love how they're utilizing a lot of the different features that LinkedIn is offering. And what I like to think about is, if a platform is offering the feature, they've seen some value for creating that. And so figure out how to strategically use the different features. One of the things that I really like that she did here was they're showing the progression within a company. Sometimes you'll see people just list their last role at a company and kind of skip over the building process. But I think that all of that adds to your perspective. and that internal growth and progression is extremely valuable information that you can be providing here. And then, of course, they have the media, which we talked about earlier in terms of the visuals to bring it home as well.
Facts. I love that. And then last but not least, as people go down on their profile, there's this area where I think they get a lot of street cred, and this is their recs and their skills. As a marketer, I've heard you say this before. It's not always about the story you tell, but it's also about the story that people tell about you when you're not in the room. So when it comes to the recs and skills, what are two key things that you think are extremely important when it comes to getting those recommendations and having people kind of endorse you for the things that you've done?
Yeah. The first thing I would say is make sure that you are actively doing the work that you want to be doing so that when people are interacting with you and engaging with you, it is actually reflected in those recommendations and skills. And the other thing, I'm just going to drive the nail home on your brand. Personal brand is actually not the 80% of the profile that we just talked about, because that's everything that you're saying about yourself. Your brand is actually every single phone call, every single Zoom meeting, every single in-person interaction that anybody has with you, all of that coming together. So you can imagine your brand is actually not one thing. And I think that you should be clear about that. That's going to start to display back to you in those recs and skills. So use that as feedback when those recommendations and skills are, and when the recommendations are coming through, to do kind of just like a self-check and say like, oh, is my brand actually reflecting what I say my intent is? And really start to figure out how you can start to like bridge the gap there.
Absolutely. And the last thing that I would say about this is that as a business owner, especially if you're a founder entrepreneur, the recs section is probably one of the most underutilized sections that I've seen business owners use on LinkedIn. And here's why. Your recommendations are essentially the same thing as like testimonials and reviews on Google or Yelp. So this is an opportunity for people to actually get an insight on how other people view working with you, whether they're working for you and within the organization, or also how clients view their experience of working with you as well. So this is an opportunity, especially on LinkedIn, where all of your decision makers are usually on this platform. This is where you can actually showcase the value of not only what you bring maybe as a freelancer or contractor, but also as a new founder, a startup business owner, or a leader as well too. So after talking about all of that, we have some more information for you, and that's going to be in our visibility blueprint that goes over all of these things that we'll be giving to you guys afterwards. We have tons of things happening in the chat, but before we get to the chat and Q&A, we wanted to take a closer look at a few things as well too, in order to talk about some of the rumors that we hear on LinkedIn. So some of these are kind of like myths, and we wanted to bust a few of them and debunk them. So what kind of myths you got for me, DD, that I can kind of help shed some light around?
All right. Does the open to work banner make you look desperate? The people want to know.
Oh, so we're talking about that green open to work banner that pops up for our job seekers.
Sometimes it covers half your face. That one.
Yeah. So I understand the sentiment around this, right? It's like, yo, if I'm looking for a job, then maybe recruiters won't reach out to me. Well, the data shows this. The data shows that people actually get up to 2 to 4 times more views from recruiters on their profile when they have that banner on. So if your intentionality is to have career advancement, then this is an opportunity for you to have that. Also, you can have this on private mode as well. You can have open to work without having the banner on there, to where this is actually only flagged to recruiters and then people that are not at your organization as well. So that is something to where if you don't want people to know that you're looking, or you feel a little down about being on the market, I would say that is an opportunity to do it. However, when you have that, it signals that more recruiters can come look at your page. So as long as you have everything in a row, I think that's better. So Didi, what else you got for me?
All right. Does having more connections, so key fact is more connections, automatically improve your search ranking?
So I think this is phonetically incorrect, and I'm gonna tell you why. It's not about having more connections. It's about having quality connections within the right alignment of your industry or what you're aiming towards. So what I mean by that is this: if you're a cybersecurity professional, but you have connections that are all over the place in all different industries, A, your feed isn't doing anything for you, and B, the algorithm isn't pushing it towards the individuals that are within your industry more often than not. However, if you have quality connections, even if you have less than, like, let's say 5,000, but most of them are within your field, then this allows you to have all of your content pushed to those folks. And then what happens is the people that engage with it, LinkedIn is still pretty old school in its algorithm in this way. When someone engages with your content, it sends a notification to all the people that they're connected to. So the more people that you're connected to that are hyper concentrated, This allows them to send that to that industry as well. So it's not about having more, it's about having better quality connections to improve your search ranking.
Quality over quantity.
Exactly.
There we go. All right. LinkedIn penalizes you for posting external links.
So this is more of a interesting common sense thing that I kind of like to say. And all senses in common, I get it, right? But here's the thing about having links on your page, right? When you put a link on the page, what you automatically do is give people the opportunity to leave the platform. So LinkedIn doesn't necessarily penalize you. But what does happen is that maybe people leave and they go read the dope article that you put up, or they go see the portfolio that you added, or the link that you added and it was dope, and they forget to come back and engage. It's natural. So when you put up links, I would just say be very intentional that you want those people to go look at that link, and don't worry so much about the engagement on the post. Now, I've had it happen where I've posted links and those posts have went off. So they haven't been penalized, but it's always about the quality of the content and what you put out and what gets people to come back. So not necessarily penalizing you for it, but naturally people will leave and sometimes not come back.
Mm-hmm. All right. And then the last one that we have here, changing your headline frequently hurts your SEO.
Yeah. So this one is, it's a little interesting, but here's the thing. When you're changing your headline due to pure intention, like, hey, you went from being in engineering to product, there's an opportunity to change your headline. You want to ensure that you are more in line with the opportunities that you're looking to receive, whether that's career advancement, whether that's you putting out a new business, whether that's you promoting your organization and becoming a leader and doing more, and make sure that it's aligned. Your headline, again, is one of the most picked up by SEO and also LEO or language searches than anything else. So when you have the correct keywords and the correct alignment within what you're looking to be founded on, that is going to always be better. So make sure it's just leading with intention and not for the fact of like trying to game the algorithm or anything like that. So you got anyone missed from me, or are we all locked in for the day?
No, I think those are the big ones. Those are the ones that were on my mind personally. So
all right, cool. So let's go ahead and get into this last section. I know we're coming up on the 30-minute mark, but I wanted to make sure we take 5 to 7 minutes to answer some questions from the audience. So as we get into the Q&A, we have like a Ask Us Anything. And Didi, what questions have you gotten from the audience beforehand, or what questions do you think are some things that need to be answered outside of the myths?
Yeah, I think one of the questions that I saw was the use of AI for some of those media assets, even including like the profile photo. What are your takes on that, or what are some tools and resources that you could do that a little bit? Well,
I think ultimately the use of AI is something that is inevitable, right? Obviously, you want to be as human as you can in terms of talking about yourself. AI gives you speed and it can give you conciseness. However, I like to use AI in different ways. Number one, I input everything coming from myself personally. So typically for me, I like to talk everything out with AI. I give it a transcript and then I let it go through and help me concise what it is that I'm trying to say to make sure that I'm direct and very clear. So I use it in that way. I've also used AI to play around with certain things like, let's say, banner photos, in case I just didn't have the media, but I wanted to showcase a certain thing. From a profile picture standpoint, I'm old school. I like to work with creatives. I came up in a world where like, my friends are photographers and videographers. So I like to go directly to the source, but I've also seen people use AI just if they don't have it to be able to create like good backgrounds or take a photo that they may have from somewhere else and make sure that it is professionally ready for whatever that means for them. But me personally, I use AI to speed things up and to be concise. What about you?
No, same. So I haven't gone the route of the making myself an AI avatar yet. But I just think that, like you said, I really appreciate the approachableness of a real photo of somebody. But yeah, in terms of just using it to even determine like keywords that people might be searching, we're thinking of things from our perspective a lot of times, but we're not necessarily thinking about it from the other angle. So being able to kind of get the full rounded picture of your value that you bring, I think that it can be extremely useful.
Absolutely. Any other questions on your end?
One more question.
Sure.
Further multi-hyphenate. So we all, I think that this is a question that people have often, and that's why they leave LinkedIn as their resume, right? people a lot of times, especially in today's day and age, are doing multiple things. And so what is your perspective on how people can integrate the different things that they're doing, but also make it not appear as though they're, distracted or not focused on the main thing?
Yeah, I think it's always about how you plan what it is you want to do, right? And what I mean by that is that when you are showcasing, whether it is your total brand, or let's even say you're going about posting, there should be a top pillar that everything funnels into, right? So what is that one thing that people should be able to say about you? For me, for example, is that Zan is a bridge builder and a connector across creatives and corporate. So everything I do ladders from creative to corporate and how it all converges, right? So even as a multi-hyphenate, somebody that does DJ, somebody that does build companies, somebody that has worked in corporate and it's not scared to work in corporate again. I loved my time at LinkedIn and enjoyed it. I have a little bit of buckets that kind of range across everything. But the key is like, what is that single thing that ties it all together? So then I think once you kind of get that, it's easy to kind of have them as pillars that tell the complete story, but they're just kind of different sections. The same way we kind of had this show today, right? It was like, hey, everything is about the foundational aspects of LinkedIn, about your profile, how to be visible. But we talked about the foundation of LinkedIn, discoverability, answer some myths, but it all laddered into this is some keys to be more visible on the platform. What's your takes on that?
Yeah, from my perspective, I think it's understanding your story and understanding that you can change and you can continue to evolve. And so I think if you anchor in and you start to identify what that common thread is, as you mentioned, that I think sometimes does come a little bit later in your career, I think, but you have to just be intentional about seeking that out. And then you can tell the story however you want, and it's not distracting from the actual title that you might hold at any particular time.
Yeah, absolutely. Any other questions on your end at all, Didi?
No, and I haven't seen any additional questions in the chat, so I think we're good to roll.
Yeah, I think we covered quite a bit today. Super excited about everything we were able to kind of talk about in terms of making sure your profile is intact, why visibility on LinkedIn is so important, especially in the modern day, how to actually think about being discoverable on the platform. And we also got to debunk some myths. And we talked a little bit about AI and being a multi-hyphenate, which a lot of people are thinking about as the workforce is changing. A lot of people are becoming entrepreneurs and they're looking to work in corporate, or a lot of people are just like founding side hustles that are then growing and doing other things and being a creator, quote unquote, while also keeping the day job or keeping a part-time job as well too. I know you say we have like a challenge or something for people today too, correct? Is that right?
Yeah, so we're gonna challenge people to get active and not just take this information. We want you to actually apply it. So what we're gonna do, you're gonna receive, anybody who's registered for this here live show will be receiving a follow-up email from No Translation. And in that, we are going to be giving you guys 5 daily prompts. We want you to take those prompts, apply them. Some of them are going to be, updates that you're making to your profile, and you're going to be doing before and after photos. Later on into the series, we'll get into prompts that encourage you to engage in different ways that you might not be considering. But ultimately, we just want you to take this information and actually use it, not just be attending the information, listening. We're going to give you some prompts and some tools that you can use to actually apply the information as well.
Awesome. I think we have a message from Steve Miller. He has a question. He said, should we optimize our profiles and pages for searchable keywords? What's your thoughts on that, Didi?
I would say yes. So you definitely want to ensure that you are hitting the keywords that are going to be relevant for your industry, especially if you're looking to stay in that industry or do additional work and have like B2B buyers and vendors find you. I saw a stat recently that B2B buyers, like they go to your LinkedIn profile to say like, is this person legit when you even send them an email or when you reach out? So you want to make sure that there's cohesiveness and that you are tapping into that. And as Xander said, your LinkedIn headline and those terms don't only surface you in search in the LinkedIn platform, that actually comes up in Google as well, right? So you definitely want to apply some of that logic and make sure that you're hitting that. But I think the thing that is key is not just focusing on that, because then you're not differentiating yourself from the next project manager or the next engineer. You have to also add those personal elements that add to your why and why you're doing this work, and why and how your perspective is a little bit different.
Exactly. And I think that's really key, right? Keywords can allow people to come in top of funnel, but why they stay is the reason that
Mhm.
you're memorable, right? Like, how do you differentiate from everyone else? I talked about this yesterday, actually. I was seeing just like the word clarity being used so much. And I understand we're in an era where there's so much noise, but it's not just about using the word clarity to kind of get a point across. It's about how are you using it in a way that actually relates to you and differentiates your opinion amongst others. And that's for your profile, that's for your products, your business, or even how you're talking in interviews as well, too, right? It's like you use the keyword to lure people in, but they stay because of the swag or the personality or how you add your own flavor to it as well. Steve, I hope that answers your question. Awesome. Well, Didi, we gave people their challenges. We talked about a bunch of questions. We answered some questions from the audience as well. And we gave everybody what we had today. Again, you guys will be receiving the visibility blueprint. Some of you guys have already received it, but we'll be sending this out once again for you to take action, to go into detail of everything we kind of talked about today. And if you have additional questions, feel free to reach out to us in the No Translation team. We'll be working with people as well, but we're happy to give some different profile reviews to give you some more insight. But we'll also be having some offerings as well, too, in terms of helping people one-on-one with their LinkedIn executive presence and how they go about showcasing what they offer, whether that's for career advancement, whether that's for their own business, or and more professionally, where we like to exude our expertise is with executives and leaders as well, too. So with that being said, it's been a pleasure, guys. My name is Xander Van Gogh. I'm the co-founder and CEO of No Translation, and I'm here with
Denise Furlow, and I head up brand strategy for No Translation Studio.
Yo,
Xander, thank you. Such a pleasure. Thank you for having me today.
This was amazing. We did this in under 35 minutes. That was great, yo. That was really, really good. So with that being said, guys, we look forward to seeing you guys again on LinkedIn in a couple of weeks as we come with part 2. And as we do that, we will see you soon. Talk to you guys later. Ciao.